Welcome back. You may notice I'm already wearing the lucky hat, and that's because today we're gonna need it. It's the continuation of that ginormous opal chunk from the other week. It has now been sliced by a friend of mine and the colour bars are exposed. So I need to decide where the gems are. First things first, jumping across to the machine and exploring where those colour bars go even more. Now I have access to them separately, making the final decision as to where the stones will sit, and then of course, cutting them into finished gems. The whole purpose of this stage right now is to get a rough shape as well as explore the colour bars. There's not much for me to say, so just sit back and enjoy the footage. I'll narrate more further on in the video. You can see here that there were some internal cracks. Now obviously I've done some grinding already to expose some of the colour bar, and when I wet them up you can see that there's some good colour play going on. Unfortunately, with this pattern here, the cracks go straight through the face, so I'm going to have to grind straight through it. It's painful, but it must be done. There's obviously that colour bar underneath which we can chase instead. It does have a crack running through it still, so this side is going to have to come off, but there should be a stone remaining around here. In terms of this piece, it looks like there's two separate colour bars going on. So we've got this big one here that thins out very quickly and runs underneath. This colour here is from a totally different colour bar. I might need to slice along here, make one large stone from this side and make something else from this side over here. So I've made some slices where the colour bars sit. I've had to cut around the cracks as well. It's time to jump back across to the wheels and finish off these stones. Now we've got a better idea as to where the final stones are, I'm having to take out the final cracks in the face. This is losing a lot of material, but obviously, as gems go, you just can't have imperfections. It just doesn't fly in the jewellery business. So the aim of the game now is finalise their shapes, get rid of all the inclusions, and start to see the final gems. We're approaching the end, but as always, as Opal goes, the problems aren't yet over. As you can see, some of the pieces still have some major cracks through it. So there's still some slicing and still some cutting that needs to be done. I'm going to skip ahead to when they need to be ready on dop sticks so you can see their final shapes. This chunk of rough opal has turned out to be really tricky to cut. So we're left with 6 final gems. I'll show you what they look like in their rough shapes before I put them on the dop stick. There are some freeforms in here, but luckily my customer is happy with those. If they weren't happy with the freeforms, that would have made my life a lot more difficult because I'd have to make some very small ovals or cushion cuts. Now it's time to get these gems onto some dop sticks. Now that the gems are on their dopstick, it's a lot easier to control and perfect the shape. They're by no means perfect yet. This is why you see me swapping in between the wheels and just making sure that the domes are even and the shapes are even. I need to make sure that all the scratches are taken out by the previous wheels once I've decided on their final shape. So it's a slow, meticulous process, but it is incredibly satisfying if you're someone like me that likes to see the hard work pay off. I of course repeat this process with every single opal. We've got 6 to do, so there's a lot of work to do. Once I'm done on the 400 grit wheel, I move over to the 600 grit wheel. This takes out all the deep scratches and leaves a nice pre-polish on the opal, setting it up for a really nice final mirror polish. I won't show you all the opals because I think you get the picture. It's obviously just repeating the same steps as before. I say this every time. It's so important to look at your opals under a loupe after the 600 grit wheel. There's no point moving on to a final polish if you haven't got a good layer to base it on. If there are still scratches in the face, you're wasting your time moving on to the polish because you'll have to go back a few steps. So make sure it's right before you move on to the 3000 grit wheel. And of course, the final polish being a cerium oxide blend on the felt wheel. That's the orange stuff that you're about to see. So, we have our final stones. We've cut 6 beautiful finished opals. The important question is, of course, is how much do they weigh? And there we have it, 19.36 carats. My experience with this rough opal has been difficult. In all honesty, it's been one of the hardest opals I've had to cut in a while. The rough chunk itself had lots of different colour bars going all different directions, none of which were straight. It had cracks running through it, sand spots, cloudy patches. There was a bunch of different problems. However, the customer that gave me the chance to cut this for them has given me a blessing in disguise. The customer doesn't mind freeform shapes, which makes my life a lot easier. As you can see, we've got some triangles and some semicircles in this parcel. If they wanted uniform shapes or calibrated sizes, those opals would be a lot smaller. So the fact I can do freeform really gives the freedom to keep them as large as possible. So given the following characteristics, we've got light opal. The brightness averages at about a 2, maybe a 3. Each of the opals has red, which does demand a bit of a premium, although it's not really bright red. There is still red in there. It has some colour play, a couple of which are directional, and there's 19.36 carats. So I've been dicing it up in my head. If you sold this as a parcel all in one, let's say you found some independent jeweler that wants to make a few Australian opal pieces, selling them as a parcel would probably make them move quicker. But if people are buying in bulk, things tend to be cheaper. So if you sold it as a parcel, I think maybe £40 a carat is around where I would personally price it at. And remember, that is a wholesale price. If you were to sell them individually, I think around £50 a carat would not be unfair to ask for. If you want, there's middle grounds. Obviously you can go 45, it's entirely up to you, but I think that's a fair valuation, which means that the price of these opals ranges anywhere from £750 to £950. I know that's a large margin, but again, it just depends if you're looking to sell them all at once or if you're going to sell them individually. That's just the game of gemstones in general. It's a tricky game to play. Anyway, cutting this opal has been a lot of fun. It's been a learning curve. It's had its highs, it's had its lows, but I do enjoy cutting tricky opal. It really puts my skills to the test, and hopefully I've proven to you that I'm a good opal cutter. At least I hope. That could be a bit egotistical, but hey, you gotta believe in yourself, right? Anyway, enough of me talking. If you've enjoyed today's video, please drop it a like down below. Comment, let me know what you think of the video, what you think of the opals, and if you want weekly opal content, don't forget to subscribe. It is free and you can always take it back. And on that note, thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in a week's time.